Okay, we're going to get into some fuzzy logic here, but fuzzy logic has been my entire existence over the last 5 or 6 years of me making videos and buying expensive buckets and crazy cars and things like that. So we're going to have some fuzzy logic, but as you can see from the title of the video, we're going to dig into what I look for when I'm going to buy a used car, which is not very much. I tend to be leap heavy. And I'm not very risk averse when it comes to buying a car. And the general reason for that is I'm usually buying low mileage, expensive cars, and a lot of times I'm trying to think of if I've been burned on a car since like my very first car that I bought when I was 16 years old. I just don't think I have. I don't think I've had any significant issues with cars that I've purchased. So I'm going to take you through what I go through when I'm buying a car here today. We have a 997.2. 997 is the year. The .2 version was 2010, 2011. I think a few 2012s rolled off the assembly line. But this, I believe, is a 2010 GT3 RS. So it's the second iteration, the 3.8 liter version of the car. So we're going to walk around the car. I'm going to talk to Wes about it. Wes and my friends from Titan Motorsports have this car. They wouldn't bring it to me if it wasn't nice. So that's line of defense step 1. Line of defense step 2 is I'm going to look at it. Line of defense step 3 is I'm going to drive it. And then I guess step 4 would be to get an over rev report, which I'm not super worried about one way or the other. Usually driving it down the road, this isn't always the case, but if you had some pinging or some smoke plume or or some issue like that, but generally in cars like this, you don't have to worry about as much. Now, this is a departure from my normal. This is a 30,000 mile GT3, which is an eternity for these cars, at least in comparison to the others that are sold. I think that these engines are built for multiple 100,000 miles. They're pretty bulletproof. It's just that the cars cost so much and they're worth so much that people don't tend to put a lot of miles on it. So in this world, this is a 30,000 mile car. What I'm going to be looking for are wear and tear, and then what can I fix? I'm not worried about tires. I'm not worried about brake rotors. I'm not worried about wears on leather and things like that. I'm going to look at that. I'm worried about how jacked up the paint is, and then I'm thinking about things like what can I easily replace to make brand new? How much do I need to replace? And where do I think that's going to cost me? So here's where the fuzzy logic comes in. I have behind the camera here, I have a car that I overpaid for. I guess in the current market, it's not really overpaid, but I paid a lot of money for a very low mile, pristine example of an E92 M3. It's a car that I want to own long term. Now, I've had 3 of them. Bought my original in 2010, I bought one in 2018, and then I did a raffle on that car, and so I now have this, this 2013 that I bought from a very reputable dealer, Enthusiast Auto Group, which they tend to source the best examples of cars, and you're going to pay a significant premium for that, and I'm okay with that. I feel like if I pay a premium, sometimes I have some premium products that I sell, and so generally speaking, it comes out in the wash. We all work really hard and provide value to each other, we tend to do well. Rising tide raises all ships in this particular example. So my long-term vision has been have a modern, whatever the newest GT3 RS is, try to get one of those and have one of those. Have a great example of an E92 M3, and then have a 997 GT3 RS. That's been my aspiration. It's been my goal. This goes back to the pinnacle of what I feel the pinnacle of cars, which was that 2010 era I was roughly, I was 30 years old when these cars were new, and maybe that's nostalgic, but I just feel like they suit me the best. Naturally aspirated, as much horsepower as they could wring out of a car, of a naturally aspirated engine at the time, and some flaws, some flaws that give it character, that makes it awesome. These are just my preferences: higher revving, great brakes, great seating position, great interiors, very simple interiors, Spartan interiors. That's what I tend to like. And so in my mind, I believe that a 997 GT3 RS is the car for me. Now, I've never driven one. So I've ridden in one just a few months ago at the GT Smokies event, but I've never actually driven. I've driven a 997.2 GT3, my friend Charles's, but only once and only for a short period of time, and I haven't driven a 997 GT3 RS. So we're going to tackle that here today. And then, so here's what I'm thinking about. I've been doing these giveaways on cars. It's been a way for me to gain brand recognition, grow the brand, set up cars the way I would like, and then get out from underneath the cost of the car. Right? So that's been a real win for me, in that I get to live one existence. I get to overspend on the car, buy all the modifications that I would want, maybe pay up for a better example of a car, or undo modifications, and just kind of play the game that I love to play, which is to order stuff, put it on, shine it up, make it better, make the car OEM plus, if you will. I don't like to go to extremes of changing engines and generally painting things, but I like to bolt stuff on. It's just what I'd love to do, and that costs money. And unfortunately, that is not super valuable to the marketplace from if I wanted to sell that car. And so my very first giveaway was I guess it was the 1M, where my idea was, could we create a raffle where I was able to sell products that were different than the products I normally would sell, garner some attention, and at the end of the day, can I make a few bucks and to help pay for all the staffing and all the stuff that required to make this thing work? Do we gain some other viewership, some following, and is there a net benefit to the whole thing? And can I get out from underneath the car that I'm over invested in, that I'd only be able to sell for maybe a slight premium over a normal car because of the work that I go into getting it set up, nicely. So the giveaways afford me to do that. And so I'm going to do the E36 M3 that I own. I thought that was going to be a keeper like the E92. It's just not for me. I like the project, I like the process, but that car is going to go, onto greener pastures. I'm $150,000 into that car. If I were to sell it, I could probably sell it at a premium for 75 to 90 maybe. So let's say 80 grand, I could probably sell that car. And so I'd lose $70,000 in the deal, versus I can engage people, hopefully sell some cool stuff that people might have otherwise not minded having, generate enough profitability to be able to make $150K and then some, as well as maybe gain some new audience, some new really customers. To me, it's more about it's a way for me to acquire new clients without having to do it inorganically and inauthentically. I can do it very authentically, live one existence, live the dream of playing with a car that I otherwise probably wouldn't buy because I knew that it would lose a bunch of money. So fast forward to this car today, I'm thinking about this as the next giveaway. Now, in order to make the giveaways work, I need to have the car for 6 or 7 months. I want to be able to experience it. I want to be able to make videos. I want to be able to modify it. I want to be able to bring it up to standard. And I thought about doing something big. And this car popped up. Higher mileage, which means a little bit bigger project for me. I think a lot of the things have been done. The coolant lines have been pinned. I think that's the main thing on a 997. I'm not a 997 expert because there's not a lot of 997 content anymore. There's not a lot of YouTube videos on them. If you just Google search 997 GT3, there's maybe 2 or 3 dozen videos that you can watch from various test drives and and one takes from Smoking Tire. But there's not a ton of information like there is on, say, an E92 M3. There are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of videos on them. So I think there's an opportunity there from a content perspective. Dundon Motorsports makes a great package for it to increase power and make it sound a little better. I think that could be really cool to share that process, getting some wheels for it, and doing some dry ice cleaning and things like that. So there's some neat things I can do to the car, with the hope that I can take this car, make some videos around it. This video is going to help me decide whether or not this makes sense to do this. It's going to cost me $265,000 or so to buy this thing, and then hope that I can sell enough stuff to get out from underneath it. I'm probably going to spend another $25,000 on wheels and parts to get it, up to the standard I want, plus, another bunch of things that I'll probably want to replace to make like new. So there's my fuzzy logic. Get the car, experience the car, modify the car, get to play with it and over-modify it, overspend on it, and then get out from underneath it in the hopes that the combination of my E36 giveaway and this giveaway of this, quote, quote, higher mileage GT3 RS, combined with, now I get to experience a GT3 RS for 6 or 7 months. I'm planning to do a raffle in June, July. That combination of doing that will hopefully afford me the ability to buy a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5,000 mile, like museum grade example, like my E92, and have those two cars to live with for hopefully an extended period of time, if not forever. So that's my thought process here. Wes will be here in a second, and let's dig into the car. Okay, car's here. Wes is here from Titan. We've been friends for 20 years now, it seems. Yeah. You live not too far, 45 minutes from here, so an hour from here, so I convinced him to bring it up. So this is a gray black 997.2. Is this a 10 or 11?
It's an 11.
2011. So late model. Has just shy of 31,000 miles. Has 30,000 miles on it, which is way outside of what I'm usually willing to consider.
Correct.
Right, which is probably not smart. What's changed my mind a bit, I was in a 45,000 mile car at Smokies, and it was great. It felt solid as a rock.
Yeah, these cars, when they're maintained, there's really not any worry about mileage. I've got a 996 GT3, that I've owned for 12 or 13 years now, and it's got 87,000 miles. Doesn't burn any oil. I've spent a ton servicing it, making sure that it's up to par over the years. But sometimes the cars with the mileage are actually going to give you a better ownership experience because somebody's fixed everything for you, or they've done the small upgrades, or they've constantly maintained it. These cars, especially when they sit, you'll oftentimes they'll have rear main seal leaks. There's other issues that pop up from not being driven.
Yeah.
The engine is dry sumped. It really likes having that vacuum on the seal. So, early on when these came out, people were using them. The whole ADM thing didn't really happen until the 4.0s came out and people owned them and said, oh, well, I can make 50, 100 grand on my car. I'll sell it. And it trickled down to these, and since everything's kind of blown up.
So this thing is PPF'd.
Yep.
So it's been detailed, it's been PPF'd.
Yep.
Do you know who did it? PPF?
Someone in Orlando did PPF. I can find out for you. The original detail was done by Vince, who most of us in Orlando knows as good as it gets when it comes to detailing. So Vince spent 2 or 3 days on it, paint corrected it, got it perfect, ceramic coated, went to a new owner and he had it PPF'd and added the yellow graphics and things.
Did it have PPF on it before?
I don't believe so. Just in the normal areas, not a full car PPF.
Like, has this been, so this has probably been painted then?
Yeah, normally the front bumper on these, it's quite common to repaint them.
Yeah.
The work, if it has been very well done. Don't have a paint meter that reads plastic, but I would assume the front bumper has been redone at some point.
Yeah.
The other way to really know it on these, this car was originally a white gold car, so they don't have official production numbers, but apparently there's only 40 North American cars that were the gray black with the white gold. So normally this would be painted white gold, the wheels would be white gold, and plates in the wings. So this has been painted black, which was a pretty common thing to do. Most of the ones you'll see are red.
Not the car, but
not the car.
Accents.
The accents will get repainted.
They took the stickers off, painted this, painted the mirrors, and this black.
So the car, as the VIN says, is originally a gray black with white gold car. These were launched with the gray black with the red, which is way more common. But it's still a rare color and car in the States. I think there was only 600 or less of these imported in North America. So it's not like there was...
it's like 490 something, 496. So
it's not like, you know, as people think of the 991s and things, they imported a much larger number of those than they did these cars.
So what I was sort of titling the video is, what am I looking for? Now, I'm not a car expert. I'm not a car purchasing expert. I'm not a dealer. I'm looking for certain things. I'm looking for like door jambs being jacked up. Like, I'm looking for telltale signs. But again, I'm not a specialist. I think paint meter readings are worthless. I think are very near worthless. I think you know, I'm looking for, you know, like, to see if there's like the body colors are like completely different. I'm just looking. I don't want to do paint and stuff like that. And then I'm just going to look at the interior and see if it looks jacked up. And then figure out, what do I got to replace that's expensive. Like, I have no problem replacing, like, if it's you know, they don't want to replace the seats. Because these seats are 10 grand.
But even on these seats, it's common to replace the inserts. The covers are available from Porsche, so if you do have a panel that needs replaced, you can either have an individual panel replaced, you know, or the whole covers are available. They're not cheap, but you can source those pieces from Porsche. So.
This is a Titan bar?
Yeah, it's a Titan bar. It can be removed and painted any color you want. Did you put it in? We did not. I believe it was done by, this car, after we sold it, the owner had service done by Simon at Driver's Choice. So the car's been well taken care of.
But I would think this car's seen quite a bit of track.
To be honest, the people that I know that had it didn't track it. And it's ironic because these cars did get tracked early on. But, you know, people still take them, Cars and Coffee, Canyon Drives and things like that. Like, I've seen some that have 25, 30,000 miles of track usage. There was a period where that was common.
This doesn't look like it to me.
But this doesn't have the wear and tear. And even that car that had, you know, 25,000 miles of track usage, he went through the suspension, replaced every bushing, every bearing. You know, so that car, when it was done, was as tight as a new one, you know, when it was resold. This is the part that the GT2 buckets are tight for me. The nice thing is these are reclinable. That's the part that's the area work that I would, after driving it, the shifter in this one, it's an original shifter, but they did, I think, one of the billet inserts to try and tighten things up. And it's a little notchy for me personally. In my cars, I like the full-on short shifter, like a numeric. Some people prefer the OEM.
Do the numeric. I didn't even think about that, the numeric.
I liked it. My car is numeric with the cables. It's a little loud, but the shift is much better. Some people think it's too notchy. So, I mean, if it were me, I would probably consider maybe going back to white gold. If somebody wanted to do it, that'd be a fun project. Put a numeric shifter in it. Maybe
I do done in D4. I already talked to Jamie about it. It's
got the sole on it, and to be honest, my car has long tube headers with the center muffler, and I prefer that to the center muffler delete. I don't know why. It sounds better to me, and it changes the car having the long tube headers. So a Dundon setup on this is incredible. And
I'd take the harnesses out.
The harnesses and
harnesses.
The belts are easily changeable to different colors. Some people said, hey, if you keep it yellow, do yellow on the harnesses. I do know that these brakes were fresh. I think at one point when we got the car, the previous owner, these were in a box. So I mean, if it was tracked early on, they kept these rotors aside and then put them back when it was, you know, primarily going to be a street car.
The magic of these cars is that even if it has 10,000 track miles, you don't know.
No, and some of the cars, I mean, we've had some of the dyno that are healthier after that. The one, some of the 25,000 miles, it burnt no oil, had great compression, and I saw some numbers in the dyno that were higher than some of the Cup cars and some of the other ones that we'd previously tested and looking back at the data, just because it had been used and kind of opened up.
It's so hard because this was like a $150,000 car 2 years ago.
We sold some for $150 at the beginning of the pandemic, and at the time, we thought like, man, sky's falling. This is going to be all the money. But if you really go back, the new cars in these are so much different. Like, I'm not a 992 guy. The size of them, especially I spend a lot of time in the mountains now more than I do in the track, and having a smaller footprint is just so much easier to drive on those roads.
It's clean.
I mean,
it's hard to tell because it's Vince clean. We don't know how clean it was, or you might.
Well, the Vince clean was probably at least a year and a half ago. So I mean, then it sat in the, it sat in a garage and was taken care of. It went and got re-cleaned, but
And so you were telling me before the story of the car, this is a Pacific Northwest car.
Yep, it was serviced by, I look at the service records, it was serviced by Dundon.
Yeah.
A buddy had a 997.2 GT3 that he tracked heavily, and he wanted to go to an RS, so he flew out there, picked the car up.
Yep.
He got rid of his black 997, but all of his cars in his collection were black. So he bought it, started to enjoy it, sent it to events to have detailed, and we kind of sorted things out, sent a driver's choice alignment things. And he had a standing offer on a black 997.2 RS, which I learned this in the process. The 997.2 RS in black is paint to sample. I think there's 6 cars because they were all 4.0s. So for him to get black, he paid everything at the time for it, got rid of this car, and we sent it to a client.
Yeah, I wonder, I like it clean like this, but I wonder if you went back to...
The white gold trend is starting to kick off. At the time I went just like the blacked out look, and this doesn't bother me. I could have it either way.
How hard is this bar to do? Just take the seats out?
Take the seats out and the bar comes out.
It just folds out?
Yeah, there's a connection points at the top, so these unbolt, and then unbolts up the strut tower, and it pulls off. But the color can be changed pretty easy.
Yeah.
To minimize downtime, and we build them for inventory now, so we could build another bar and swap it out, and credit you for this one.
Heck yeah. I take the harnesses out.
Yep. And the belts. A lot of people will swap the belts from red to black just because of wear and things over time. And that's not difficult to do while you're in that whole process.
Yeah.
I would change the shifter.
Definitely. I might do numeric without the cables.
Yeah, numeric without cables is great.
Yeah.
I did the cables. My cables failed, so at the point I was like, I'll do numeric. But it does. The cables add more noise. It adds a bit of whine.
This already has the coolant lines pinned.
Yep, cool. They were actually pinned by Dundon.
What happens with that? They just vibrate loose, or?
They were glued in almost like a JB Weld compound, and heat cycling things over time. They'll pop out. So the hoses will be clamped onto it, and it'll actually spit it out.
Okay.
The problem is coolant when you're on a track or even on the street is very slippery surface. It's difficult to clean up. So as it happened.
What did the 997s had? Not the GT3s. They had what was it? Some sort of bearing issue.
The IMS bearing issue.
Yeah, these didn't have that.
Nope.
Metzger.
Nope. It's a Metzger engine. This is the last of the Metzger. It's a 3.8. So this gets you the wider body, the 3.8, the good ratios in the gearbox. This was kind of like the swan song, and then they snuck the 4 out. Everyone, which the 4.0 is most of our lottery car. If it's money's not an object, it's. I've been fortunate to drive a car that has a 4-liter in it, and the extra torque going from 3.6 to 3.8 to 4 liter is a pretty incredible driving experience differences you've got.
Yeah. I wonder what's been done in suspension.
Suspension, I looked through the notes. When it was Pacific Northwest, it has some of the Tarrant monoballs and things, which help keep things tight. On these, it's not that harsh of a ride.
Yeah.
It has...
it obviously has it lowered.
Yeah, the DSC controller.
Okay.
At one point at JRZs, they went back to the factory shocks to add the controller, and that's been pretty common to do. Some people, want kind of the best of both worlds.
So this is a little bit different for me because...
You don't have a lot to do to it.
Well, I wouldn't. This car wouldn't be good enough for me.
Yeah, no.
I'm just being honest. Like, this wouldn't be good enough for me to have it's like my E92 is one of the best E92s in existence.
100%.
But I will tell you, my previous M3 was like this, and I didn't worry about it. Like, I just liked it. I enjoyed it. I actually liked the ownership experience even better than that one, because if something happens to that one,
you can't replace it.
It's not even insured. Like, it's insured for like 40 grand.
You've already ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. So what I'm considering is I buy this. I'm going to do a giveaway on it. I think this is a good enough example. The other thing I was concerned about, I want to give away great. Like my 1M was a little molested. My M5 had 20,000 miles on it. But part of the chase is to tweak it and fix the little things. There's like a clip missing.
There's little things. Yeah, there's little things. This isn't your typical, it's not going to be a transformation. You could make it a small transformation to add the story.
Right. But none of my cars have been a transformation.
But as you drive it around, you might find little things, a rattle here and there, and things to fix. And, that's the fun of this whole process, I think, why someone's do it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're looking for that unicorn. This isn't a unicorn for you because of the type of cars you drive and how often you drive. But the cool thing is you take this to the Smokies and you're up in the mountains and you don't have to worry. If you get a rock trip, a ding, somebody that gets this car is not going to have to worry about adding mileage It's not going to hurt. It's been maintained.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the ideal car for most people if you're not having a mini collection.
Right. Or yeah, if you're not a crazy.
I mean, I just drove it here and added 75 miles to it without a blink of the eye. If this was a 2,000 mile car, I would have, hey Maddie, let's call the transport, have him bring it up, and then it would sit in the driveway off the trailer. And there's cars that live that life, and there's some good and bad to that. And really, that's the type of cars, because we're an enthusiast brand, our main business is part sales. So the car dealership side is kind of fun for us, and it's getting cars in the hands of people that are going to use them and drive them versus... Yeah. There's dealers that specialize in that store of value cars where the person's going to buy it, it's going to get driven twice a year and get 5 miles added to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for people that actually want to enjoy it, cars like this are absolutely perfect. And there's nothing wrong with them.
It had some sort of other logo. They put some other stripes on it or something at some point. You can see it in the... This is why I tell people, don't take those decals off your car. Now it's etched for life. The Porsche is etched forever. Yep. The Porsche's happened because they put it on too early.
Yep.
Right? And then they put it on before the paint is fully cured, and then now the Porsche is, you can see it. Yep. Same thing with even my RS, my brand new RS. I took it off. You could see, no matter how much polishing I did, unless I sanded it down, which wouldn't be smart.
We see that with some of the cars that were early clear brawl, where the materials wasn't nice.
Yeah.
One of the first things we normally have to do if we take a car like this on trade is pull the yellow and clear brawl off, have the car paint corrected, and then let the owner decide if they're going to reapply it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially these. If somebody bought one of these off the floor and clear brawled immediately, you're now talking about 10, 11-year-old clear brawl, which you and I know how much fun that's going to be to either deal with or address.
Yeah, and there's a high probability that old clear ball is going to pull paint. You're going to have to paint it anyway.
So
it defeated the whole purpose of what it was there to begin with.
I appreciate it on certain areas of the cars, but the entire car thing has its place for some things, but people just understand that it's not a cure-all. Like if you're going to drive the car, it's great. If you're just going to let it sit, you might be looking at spending the money again not far down the line to have it redone.
Yeah. So he didn't do... Yeah, oh, he did the doors. He did the whole thing, huh? Yeah. The whole car's done. Yeah, Dundon D4. It'll make 50 more horse, 35, 40, 50 more horsepower.
The sound when you go to a set of long tube headers and the sound of muffler on these is incredible.
Yeah.
Me and LZ did that drive when he had his orange car, and just even the 996 with these and the newer ones with the header, the way it makes it sound at higher RPMs is just incredible. You almost don't need a radio. And still down low, the rumble, like if you're starting it and backing it up and you have neighbors nearby, it's not horrible. They know you have a sports car, but it's not like it doesn't really open till high on the RPMs.
All right, it's my first 997 experience. Super heavy clutch.
Clutch is really soft in these.
I think this car is made for me. Let's see if I'm buying a car today. So much, much harder core than a 991. The 991 is a much softer car. $30,650 miles. Car's warm. Brakes feel good. Yeah, it's a 997. Spinaroo right here. I don't want to drive this guy's car a lot, but I just wanted to see what it felt like. Brakes are legit. I don't know what to say. Yeah. I don't know what to say. He does have the suspension a little wonky. I'd have to fix that.
It's in the sway bars.
I almost stepped out right here.
It's set up more for like tighter stuff.
Yeah.
You can loosen, you could literally sway bar settings. I've done it on a couple of them where some people, you're going to go to the track, you want like more long sweepers.
Yeah.
But he wanted it more like in town, short, crispy drive. So it's set up to be real, almost like autocrossy.
Yeah.
But that's literally, you can swap that out with, what it is once you get in those corners, you probably lift it a little bit.
Yeah, that's all I did. Just a tiny little
lift and it starts to wiggle. But if you stay in it, it lets you drive through it.
Yeah, that was a weird feeling. Like, whoa, buddy. That's all I did. It just came through and it just lifted just a tiny bit, and I felt the whole thing.
But that's the beauty of these cars.
Yeah.
They do what you tell them to, whether you realize it or not. And you put enough time in these, you're not going to have to worry about your driving. Like, these make you on your toes at all the time, which I think is what a lot of people really like about them. Is you can own it for 10 years and it still might do that to you once, and you're like, man, I got to respect this car.
Yeah. Let's see what they say. Can we get that face on camera? Come talk to me, Shelly.
What is this? Who is it?
This is my new $1 million idea.
What do you mean?
Kate, did you notice something in our garage?
No. New car?
So,
New car?
new old car.
Ugh.
Why is it still here?
I bought it.
Mommy's big. You bought it?
I bought it.
That's a new car?
He got a ride home. Stop licking me.
You bought it so you can get a car to go home?
No.
That's why you bought it?
No, I bought it so that we can change the world, Kate. So, anyway, I'll have to go do some explaining to the family here. But I just leveraged our children's future.
Dad, can you come to my
In
volleyball
hopes.
scrimmage tomorrow?
Yeah, maybe.
If you can come to your scrimmage, you're happy.
So, anyway, I guess that's what I go through when I'm looking at a used car. I just went up the street and I've driven it, I've driven it a bunch. I went over to the garage, got a plate for it, just a temporary plate to hold me over until I get my real temporary plate. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. Went up and drove around my route, 3 or 4 times. The reason I was a little apprehensive on my drive were 2 things. One, and the rear end kind of stepped out on me. And I talked to Wes about the alignment, and so they set up the sway bars kind of weird. So I'm gonna fix that. So that's simple. The tire pressures were too high, so I went and fixed the tire pressures. They were at like 40, 41 in the rear, something like that. And then you can hear I just went for a rip. And then there was a chatter. I thought it was a clutch issue. Well, he and I went out in it, and I sat passenger so I could just focus on the car and think about, kind of look at the car a little better and listen for things. Well, I put my hand on the shifter. That shifter has a lot of chatter, so I'll be doing a numeric anyway, which will be quite a bit quieter. So, yeah, I'll be wiring some funds tomorrow. Let's hope that this giveaway, a concept. So as of right now, the plan would be June 1st through July 31st would be a giveaway on it. That gives me, 6.5 months to own the car or drive the car. I'm really not going to do anything to it other than maybe wash it and kind of clean the interior up. Maybe adjust the sway bar over the next few weeks. The next few weeks will be G80 focused. I got to get all the parts on the G80 because that's going up to Helen. And then I've got to work on getting the Turo relationship set up so I can start letting people borrow this that are borrowing borrow that car that are borrowing the house. I always do this, so I got 3 cars all at once. So stupid. Yeah. So I'm excited though. I'm a little scared, but extremely excited to chase this project. And yeah, I get it. I'm a crazy person. I think it makes sense to say, we'll see you on the next one. As always, stay tuned for more crazy and more to come. 997.2 GT3 RS. Pretty sick.